Okay, well, we're back. Today we're in the workshop here. It's sprinkling rain outside, so I didn't want to work out in the rain on the tailgate of the truck today, so I brought the mower in here. Had to clear off the work table. Had to take the handlebars off to make it fit in the workspace. But anyway, valve came in the mail the other day. um, This only cost me like $4, something like that, on eBay. It's not a genuine Briggs part, but I think they advertise it as a Stens brand, but it comes in this like rip-off knockoff Briggs and Stratton packaging, which is interesting. So you got the black, white, and red, but no but no Briggs symbol. It's rather interesting. Quality replacement parts. Made in Taiwan. So anyway, I actually ended up getting 2 of these since they were so cheap. So I'll have an extra one for any other future projects, 'cause I'm sure I'll be needing another one in the future. So there we go. There's the new valve. And that's just, that's not rust, that's just some sticky stuff on there. It's probably like, they had some kind of oil on there to keep it from rusting. But it's all good, so that should be good to go. And there's the cruddy old one. So now we just got to work on. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna lap it in. I'm also gonna probably relap in the exhaust valve as well, just to do it. I looked at it, it's probably not too bad. I may decide not to, but we'll see as I go. I'm gonna take care of the intake first, get that done, and then I'll decide whether I lap in the exhaust or not. I probably will just do a real quick, real light job on it, just to make sure it's seated good. But we'll see. I may just clean it up. So anyway, we're gonna get started on that. Okay, so I wanted to stop and talk about something really quick here. So when you're gonna lap the valves on an engine like this, gotta remember your clearances here. So part of that is when you actually go to lap it. So when you actually lap the valve, you're going to change your clearance, and you have to have clearance in order to lap the valve right. Because because sometimes, like, so I'm having issue with this valve. Is a brand new valve. There's no there's no clearance whatsoever. It's not even closing all the way. So when you go to lap these, you have to make sure, of course, that your push tappets there all the way back. The easiest way to do this is with your valve tappets removed, but obviously I don't want to tear this engine apart just to remove those. So you can do it with them installed, but you have to make sure that you have a gap there, or else your valve's not going to be sitting all the way down on the seat. It'll be off, just hairline fracture off. It could be just as much as just a hairline, just really, and you don't want that. You want to be able to seat it flush on there when you're lapping it in. So something to remember. So of course you grind a little bit off. So I already ground a little bit off. Still no gap. So I'm gonna have to. Well, using a file, I'm using a grinder, but you really want to use a good file. Grinder can take too much off real fast if you don't know what you're doing. But so anyway, so I'm gonna keep going on that. I gotta get that at least some. Now I'm not trying to get the clearance exact at the moment, because after I lap it in, then I'm gonna come back and fine tune the clearance on it, set it to the specs where it needs to be. The only thing you don't want to do though, even though you want a gap, you don't want to make it too big, or else you're gonna, if you get it too big and it's not it's out of the spec range, you're gonna have to come back and lap this down more. Or if you go really crazy, you're gonna have to get yourself another valve. So, just something I want to mention there real quick about that. So I wanted to add something really quick. Not necessarily trying to make this a how-to video, not necessarily, but while I'm here, I might as well share some information with you all if anyone's interested. Because how I do this is when you check your gap, you basically you open it up. You want your valve all the way open. You find your maximum point, which is about that. I usually will take like a Sharpie and mark it, line it up with this post for the coil. That's just what I do. And then 1 revolution from that spot. And then that should be good. Now, that's the instructions that's outlined in my repair manual. The repair manual I've had for a long time. That's what I've always done. I read that years ago. That's how I've always done it. I believe I've seen YouTube videos of other people doing it. They say you find top dead center. And then I think there's at least one video I watched where the guy like puts the piston a 1/4 inch down in the cylinder, or just below top dead center. That works. I tried it on this engine just today because I'm still curious about all that. If I've been doing it right, which I believe I have, because that's what the repair manual says to do. But the measurements seem to come up about the same doing it either way, so I don't know if it really matters, but that's just how I do it. Okay, so we did the intake valve. We lapped it in. There's a valve. Probably won't see that on camera. Valve seat. There is a little bit of pitting on the side of the valve seat. There's just nothing I can do about that. It's not quite how I'd like it to be, but the only way to... I could sit there all day and I could lap that all day long, and it probably still wouldn't even get all the pitting out on the edge. The only way to fix that is if I had the proper cutter tool to put in here and recut that valve face. I don't have those tools. I think I looked them up one time a couple of years ago, and it's like a couple $100 for the set. Might be something I'll invest in the future, but right now I don't have them, and I think it's good enough where this engine should run. And if I have issues with it, I'll just come back and fix it. But it takes time. Sometimes you get a bad pit in one of these, and you can be lapping that for a long time, just trying to get that right. I've done it on a few, and I've gotten them pretty good. But new valve helps out. We're using pitted valves with pitted valve seats, then you really take a long time to get them straightened out. But can't really see it on camera, but there's a little bit pitting just on the edge here. Like I said, I'm just going to go with that for now. So I'm going to call that done. I'm pretty sure my gap is still right. I'm going to come actually put the valve in, put the spring in, and then recheck it with the feeler gauge with the spring in, because the spring adds a little more tension to it, and it's just good to check it anyway. Make sure it's right once you get everything all in there. So I'm going to do the exhaust one. I'm just going to lap that real lightly. I don't think it needs a whole lot, but I'm going to do that. and then I'm going to get these put back in, and then we can start putting the head back on and see if we got any compression. Okay, I got my exhaust valve in there. Got the tool on the valve. Just going to show you what I'm doing here real quick. Okay, I think that's about as good as we're gonna get it. And this here's got some pitting in it too. Don't care for it, but just gonna have to live with it for now, and hopefully it'll run and won't leak. It's not the worst I've seen. I wish it was better, but it takes a very long time trying to lap out some of this pitting. And this one here, you could probably get it. I don't feel like taking the time with it. And the angle, I'd have to take this engine off completely, tip it up. Trying to do it sideways like this gets really tiresome on your hands. But the valve, now the exhaust valve, this is the original exhaust valve out of here. And it looks really good. I expected to be some kind of pitting on there, but it actually is perfect. There was really not even much of a mark at all. This valve was still like ground straight at the proper angle. There was almost, no mark. Even on the original intake valve, there wasn't much of any ridge on there or anything. So that goes back to what I originally was saying in part 1, talking about the still being cross-hatching in the cylinder. This mower definitely does not have that many hours on it. I mean, I couldn't say how many. It's probably got some hours, but it's got way less hours than probably any of these 3.5 horse Briggses that I've worked on. So anyway, I think I'm going to get these valves installed, and we'll come back when we're done with that. Okay, got the valves installed. I actually came back and relapped this exhaust one a little bit more. It probably needed it anyway, and I had to get the clearance in where I wanted it. The gap was a little too big, so I just lapped it a few more times, got it closer to where I wanted it. This here's about maxed out, the largest gap. This here's about just right on the intake. So there they are. And something I didn't mention before, valve guides. Exhaust one had a little bit of play, wasn't bad. I mean, it was nothing to worry about. I've ran some of these motors with really bad valve guides. Intake is really good. It's almost like new. Okay, so now with the valves done, we gotta clean the head up, put the head back on. I gotta clean our intake pipe out. It's got rust in it. Put that back on. I gotta see if I have another gasket, and if I don't have one, then I'm gonna have to make one. So we'll get our head on, get our breather valve cover back, breather back on, and then I gotta fix that. So we'll see if we got decent compression, which we should. Hopefully none of the rings are stuck. I'm hoping that they're not. Check compression, and then check for spark. Get a fuel tank carburetor on this thing, and then we're about ready to go.